Hey everybody, welcome to Carl's Mind Chimes. I'm Carl and I'm about to break through some propaganda today and to talk about the future in politics in the United States. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to like and share this podcast with everyone you know. Hopefully soon I'll be having guests on to talk about different ideas inside politics, so stay tuned for that. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to summer. Let's enjoy the most of it. So, how about what's going on right now? You know, when we talk about Trump on and on, at this point, there's little left to debate about Donald Trump himself. He's a lemon. Americans know who he is. Supporters see a fighter. Critics see the real con man. Historians may eventually describe him as a symptom of deeper fractures in American life. Whatever one's view, the central question facing the country is no longer who Donald Trump is. The question is, what do we intend to do about the conditions that made him possible? For nearly a decade, Trump has dominated American political life. Like a giant flashing billboard on the side of a national highway next to a porn shop and a gun shop. Every scandal, every indictment, every outrage, every social media eruption becomes the story. The result is a peculiar form of political paralysis. We spend so much time examining the lemon that we forget to ask why the orchard keeps producing them. I recently heard something different at the opening events surrounding the Obama Presidential Center and Library. There beneath the celebration and reflection was at least a hint of what was largely being missed from our public conversation. He spoke of caution, planning, and an acknowledgement that democracies survive not by defeating a single politician, but by strengthening institutions capable of outlasting them. Yet beyond isolated moments like that, I hear remarkably little discussion about a future beyond Trump. Instead, I hear endless analysis of what his personality, his tactics, his grievances, and his latest controversies bring about. The media ecosystem remains trapped in a cycle of Trump consumption. The coverage often resembles weather reporting during a hurricane, minute-by-minute updates about the storm while offering little discussion about rebuilding the town. This is why the recent flood of Trump books makes me uneasy. Consider the latest work by journalists Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. The reporting, detailed, richly sourced, and filled with behind-the-scenes revelations, but one cannot help notice a familiar pattern. We are once again invited into Trump's world. His calculations, his reactions, his frustrations, his political instincts, the focus remains on the man at the center of the spectacle. The problem is not reporting itself. Haberman's access has been extraordinary for years, over decades. But extraordinary access always raises questions. Access is currency. It is rarely granted without expectation. Politicians provide. They understand that visibility itself is a form of power. Every anecdote, every exclusive detail, every insider account enforces the idea that Trump remains the indispensable figure around American politics. From a crisis management perspective, this should sound familiar. When corporations face catastrophe, experienced consultants often advise rapid disclosure and controlled transparency. Reveal enough information to satisfy public curiosity while maintaining control of the larger narrative. The public feels informed, the institution survives. Maggie Haberman has done just that. Viewed through the lens, the endless stream of Trump revelations begins to look a lot like accountability and a lot less like accountability and more like crisis containment. We are given the play-by-play. We are rarely encouraged to step back and examine the game itself. Meanwhile, the deeper questions remain, largely unanswered. Why has economic inequality continued to widen? Why do millions of Americans feel abandoned by the institutions that once provided stability? Why has public trust collapsed across government, media, education, and business? Why do so many citizens feel that democracy no longer delivers for ordinary people? These are not Trump questions. They are American questions. A politics focused entirely on one man becomes a form of national sleepwalking. It encourages citizens to believe that removing a single individual will somehow resolve structural problems decades in the making. History suggests otherwise. Demagogues rarely create the conditions that elevate them, they inherit them. The challenge before this country is not simply defeating Trumpism at the ballot box, it's constructing a vision of civic life capable of outliving it. That requires discussing public institutions, economic fairness, education, media accountability, and democratic reform. It requires talking about what comes next. The lemon has been thoroughly inspected. Every bruise, every blemish, every rotten spot has been documented in exhaustive detail. The question now is whether we intend to plant something better. And the other big question is whether we're going to accept Maggie Haberman and I believe his name's Jonathan Swann's book as revelation or crisis control. The details involved in this book reek of crisis control. If any organization faces a crisis, every crisis consultant advises to come out with all of it, all of the truth, and the public will soon forget. And it appears that this is what has taken place. Maggie Haberman, her access, even an interview with Trump himself appears in the book. And it reeks of propaganda and crisis control. Unfortunately, Trump's crisis is being controlled. We have swept away the Epstein files. We've swept away the Iran war. We're focused on the debacles that Trump has put forward with, painting the, pool blue and putting algae in the pool. We're faced on, we're concerned about all of his little personal interests, as any good dictator would want. They want his name on buildings, and we debate whether his name should be on buildings. We debate clowns around the circus, never focusing on the relevant side acts. We focus on the big circus master. We focus on all of his little issues, never ever looking to the future. And now we're faced to digest it all with a bit of crisis control. And believe me, the circus master himself is a lemon, and it is about him releasing information as crisis control. Okay, so that's my take on Maggie Haberman's new book, and I hope you consider this as an option for your thought processes. I'm Carl. This has been Mind Chimes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. And consider reading history. Consider expanding your knowledge base on what actually is going on. And hopefully stop following the play-by-play and start looking deeper into the future and coming up with politicians on both sides of the aisle that work with planning. Now, the notion of a plan rubs all politicians the wrong way because they know things change and one would never want to be held to a promise. We're not looking for promises. We're looking for framing and a plan, just an inkling of a plan. We don't need the detailed planning, but we do need a suggestion of a plan. We know the spirit of the plan is what matters. We know that it's not going to be made 100%. We don't live in a 100% world. Reality is filled with different mistakes, different things along the way. So if someone plans to implement universal health care, well, we start with Obamacare. We start with the National Health Care Act, and then we gradually move to improve that initial plan. That's how planning works. But when the government is constantly looking at a lemon, and when the media is looking at the lemon, and when politicians across the whole spectrum are busy defending and attacking the lemon, we're missing the bigger point. And now we've fallen, the media through the Haberman book, has exposed crisis control. And that, my friend, is a terrible thing. So anyway, I'm Carl. This has been Carl's Mind Chimes. Keep up the good fight. I'm going to be here for a good while, and hopefully you are too. Please like and share this with everyone you know. Open some minds, and I'll be back sooner or later with more political rants. Thanks for watching.